This is the second video for Blood Brothers by Willy Russell, and this one will be focused on Act 2. Here we will be recapping the plot, what happens to who and in what order. So from the start of Act 2, we see Willy Russell bring us right back to the fresh start that the Johnston family think that they're having. We see them moving to the new area, and Mrs. Johnston is settling into a new house. We see the boys have become teenagers, both age 14, and are both interested in girls. We see Edward being sent off to grammar school and Mickey catching the bus to a very different type of school, a secondary modern. On the way to school, we see Sammy getting in trouble on the bus. Mickey and Linda are with him. He lies about his age, and it quickly escalates in seriousness because he threatens the bus conductor with a knife. Here we're seeing quite a serious change in the character of Sammy, who's now 16, and Mickey, worried, obviously, trying to look out for his big brother and try not to let him get into trouble. Linda makes it very clear that she's in love with Mickey, but he's really embarrassed. He doesn't know how to deal with this situation, and he tells her to stop embarrassing him. Here we've already seen from Willy Russell the use of juxtaposing places and schools to intensify just how different the boys' lives have become. As we see the two classrooms appear on stage, it's quite clever. We go from the bus scene straight into school, and we see two very juxtaposing classrooms, very different educational settings. Edward is at grammar school. The teacher is very values Edward's education and wants him to enter a professional career in the future. Talk of Oxbridge wants him to go on and get A-levels and a degree, whereas we see a very big contrast in Mickey's school. Mickey's teacher's trying really hard, but Mickey's not bothered. Mickey doesn't value education as much, and unfortunately a lot of the schools, secondary modern schools, didn't, because they would know the students were destined for jobs in factories that didn't require the same sort of qualifications. Ironically, both boys are suspended from school on the same day for being rude to the teacher. It's very clear that even though they are living incredibly different lives, there is still something that suggests that the two are drawn together, and very similar things happen to them because they are biologically identical twins. Next we see Mickey and Edward reunited again as they bump into each other on the stage, and after 7 years apart, it's Mickey who sees somebody unsuspecting and demands, "Give us a ciggy," in the same way he requested a sweet all those years ago. Once they realise who each other are, they very quickly are firm friends once again. Mickey brags that he knows all about girls until Edward believes him, and he does realise that he can be quite honest and open with Edward, like a brother. The boys head to the cinema together, and very quickly we see that their friendship is reignited as blood brothers. We can still visually see the differences between the boys, the things that they know, the knowledge they have, the way that their appearance, but they still want to be friends. They don't see this dividing class, and they just see someone that they could be friends with. They're very much drawn to each other. Again, making us question what Willy Russell is showing us about their biological connection. Here we see quite a sinister turn. Whilst the boys are out at the cinema, Mrs. Lyons trespasses. She sneaks into Mrs. Johnston's home and confronts her in her kitchen. She accuses Mrs. Johnston of following her, calls her clever. You think you're clever, don't you, for giving him the locket that she now knows about. Mrs. Lyons offers to bribe Mrs. Johnston money to move away. But when it becomes clear that Mrs. Johnston isn't going anywhere, she likes her new house, she likes her new life, Mrs. Lyons becomes very desperate and becomes threatening, and actually takes a knife out of the kitchen drawer and attempts to attack Mrs. Johnston with the knife. Fortunately, Mrs. Johnston manages to take the knife and get Mrs. Lyons out of the house. Here we can very clearly see that Mrs. Lyons is becoming more worried about the boys finding out they were separated. The locket is very symbolic of Edward's relationship, connection with the Johnstons, and is the reason Mrs. Lyons is understandably so worried. So here's where we then see the summer sequence, one of Willy Russell's songs focusing on them, Mickey, Linda and Edward spending a lot of time together over the summer and over the course of the next few years at the fun fair, going to the beach together, taking photographs, spending time and just enjoying each other's company, and reminding us how quickly time passes in those teenage years and how quickly they are becoming adults. Very shortly afterwards, we see that Mickey's going to university and they have like a big farewell. As soon as he's gone, after he's admitted to Linda how he feels, he gets Mickey and Linda together because he knows that that's the right thing for him to do. And then just as soon as Edward's gone off to university, Mickey and Linda find out that they're expecting a baby, so they decide to get married. But unfortunately, quite soon afterwards, we see the impact of mass redundancies, particularly within the city of Liverpool and the surrounding areas, and how Mickey loses his job at the cardboard box factory. Therefore, when, again, quite quickly, Edward returns from university 3 months later, he's still very much like a kid, which upsets Mickey because Edward just wants to party and he's very carefree, whereas Mickey knows how much he needs to work to support his new family. When Edward offers Mickey money and questions Mickey, why is a job so important? I've got money, plenty of it. Mickey becomes quite angry at him. It seems that, well, we're seeing here that Mickey is too proud to accept Edward's money because he views it as pity money. He'd rather not be friends than patronised by somebody that he thinks just doesn't understand and is very, very different. This is the first point in the play where Edward and Mickey really start to see the differences between them, and us as an audience see that things do change once you're an adult. I've called this section going down the wrong path because this is the point where it really does escalate for Mickey, and we do feel very sorry for him. So, unemployed and worried how he'll support his wife and unborn child, Mickey becomes involved in a crime with his older brother Sammy. Sammy encourages him by saying that you need the money and you'll just be a lookout and you won't be involved, and really tries to convince him, and unfortunately does convince Mickey to participate. And then obviously the crime is committed and becomes a lot more serious when Sammy shoots somebody and Mickey goes to prison. In prison he becomes depressed. The prison doctors treat him and give him antidepressants, but by the time he's released he's addicted to antidepressants, and Linda cannot see him anymore. He wants to be invisible. He's really upset with what his life has become. And this is the point where we see Linda seeking comfort with Edward in a light romance. And there's another song at this point showing us the connection between them. They are connected in a different kind of way, and whilst they know that they probably can't be together, they just seek that comfort with one another. I think Willy Russell's showing us here that spending time with Edward is an escape for Linda. It's a chance for her to escape the unhappiness of her life. But I think Russell makes it clear they're just friends. They're not being cruel to Mickey, who they both love, but they are led into this light romance. Now, to sum up the final moments of our play, Blood Brothers, it all escalates very quickly. It's very fast paced here. So the end of Blood Brothers is fast paced to reflect just how quickly things can change. Mrs. Lyons shows Mickey what's happening with Linda and Edward in their light romance. He then rushes home like a madman to retrieve the gun from Sammy's past crime, then goes straight to the town hall to confront Edward. Mrs. Johnston runs into the town hall and finally reveals the truth, that they were once a pair. At this moment, the gun explodes, Edward is killed, Mickey is then shot by the police. And here's where the play ends, exactly back where it started. Both twins are dead on the stage, with their mother singing over them, "Tell Me It's Not True," and Russell forces his audience to really acknowledge why this really happened, which is the class divide. The fact that it ends with the superstition coming true really forces us to question the idea of whether fate does exist or not, whether we can control our own destiny. But once again just reminds us to consider the way that people are treated in society, and that perhaps it really is the way that the boys were treated differently that has ultimately led to their deaths.